the spring stitch. Hi guys, I'm Kristen and welcome to Studio Knit. Today we are knitting up this really fun bobble stitch pattern. It is called the spring stitch because we're making these little coils. They're very springy and super fun and unique to make. You can do it in one color like I have here in this pretty raspberry color. This is what the wrong side looks like, very plain, and then you turn it over and it is full of all of these really cute bobbles of the spring stitch. And here I did it in 3 different colors. You can get really creative. I have a written pattern linked down in the description below. It's on my website, and you might want to go ahead and pin this project to Pinterest as well to save for later. I'm going to jump straight into showing you how to make these little springs first, and if you think this is going to be a fun one, and it is, please go ahead, hit like. It really helps me out. For our materials, you can use any size yarn or needles. I'm using cotton worsted weighted with size 7 knitting needles, and of course scissors and a tapestry needle on hand. And here we go. The instructions are on the left, and we begin the spring inserting the needle as if to knit, but we're not going to knit. And I'm using the white color here to help differentiate what's going on the left and right needles. What we do instead is we pull our needles apart and sort of hold them in this crisscross sort of L shape, X shape, whatever, however you'd like to look at it. And we're actually taking our working yarn, the white yarn, and we are wrapping it around both needles 10 times. And we're doing it counterclockwise. So you'll see I'm going below to the left, around to the front, and counting 10 times to wrap our yarn around. Now, once we've done that, we take that working yarn and we put it onto that back needle as if to knit, just as if we had done this without wrapping. Okay, now I'm going to be showing this 3 more times, so you'll definitely get a chance to see exactly what's going on here. We're going to hold our working yarn in our right hand, and then we're going to take that right needle, and I really like to hold it against my left needle until I'm able to catch it, and we are going to take everything off the left needle on to the right. That's 1 stitch that we did with those 10 yarn wraps right there in order to make our springy coils. The next step is to unravel that spring coil all along your yarn tail. So you'll see it gets pretty long, and you end with like this little loop on your right side. And then, this is so fun. Okay, you take your yarn in your right hand, just the one yarn strand, and we're going to cinch the coil by pulling the yarn tail. So holding on to the yarn, I'm going to pull onto the yarn tail. Again, we're going to do this again. And you're going to see that it starts to cinch up into this perfect little coil right there. That's the yarn that actually is closing in on itself, and we cinch, not too tightly, and then that's the spring stitch. My next stitch here is a knit stitch, and we continue on. And you'll see that the coil is actually on the right side of our work, which is on the back. We only see the purl side when we're working on this. We don't actually see it in front. That coil actually happens in the back of what we're working on. So let's do it again without those written instructions getting in the way. So instead of just knitting a regular knit stitch, we first stop and we move our needles so we have a lot of space and hold them sort of in this X shape right here. And then we are taking that working yarn and we're wrapping it around counterclockwise from the back to the front, 10 revolutions, 10 times around. And now we're taking that yarn and we're going to wrap it around our back needle just as if we were just going to regularly knit. and we're going to knit it through that stitch on the left, which is in green. And while I'm holding onto my yarn, I make sure that I wish I could show you what it looks like on the inside, that I'm able to capture it, get it right under there. And here's sort of how it's looking on the inside a little bit, if that helps. And we take the whole shebang, we take all of it off of the left needle, and then we unwrap that yarn so that it's nice and long and loose, and then we pull on the yarn with our right hand, and it makes this perfect coil. It's really fun to do, and I will tell you, you definitely are going to make mistakes along the way, so just have fun, have patience with yourself while you're doing it. And here we're just finishing up with our knit stitch. Again, the coil is on the back there. It's so cute. You can see really close up what it looks like right there. And if you would like to do a knit stitch pattern with the spring stitch, I'm going to quickly demonstrate exactly what that stitch pattern is. It is casting on in multiples of 4. So we have our beloved little slip knot, and we cast on 4 stitches, and then 4 stitches again, and 4 stitches again, until you have the number of stitches that you would like to have on your needle in multiples of 4. You'll see in the pattern, we start with 3 rows of stockinette. That's knitting all, purling all, and knitting all. And we do that because our coils sort of loop down, and you want to make sure that your knit stitch pattern has enough space there so that the coils can rest along your knitted piece. And beginning here with the actual stitch pattern, we are purling 1, and then we go straight into our spring stitch. So we're going to do it again. We are going to place our needle as if to knit right there below. And now we take our working yarn on our right hand and we coil it around counterclockwise 10 times. And we're going around both of those knitting needles. And then we wrap it around that back needle, and we are going to knit it. We're going to hold our right needle and really slide it along the left, holding our yarn with our right hand until it catches and we're able to knit it through that 1 stitch on the left, which right here you can see it in pink, and we're taking everything off, and now it's time to unravel everything. And sometimes it does get a little bit caught. You might want to take your time to make sure that you have a really nice loose coil, and then it's time to pull into a perfectly shaped little coil. Again, your yarn can catch, so just have a little bit of patience with it. And when you do your finished coil, you can have it be a little bit loose. You don't want it to be too tight. And then the next stitch is doing 1 knit stitch and then 2 purl stitches, and you just continue the knitting and the purling and the spring stitch according to the pattern. Oh, and here's what our little coil looks like. Again, it's on the back of our work, and when we flip it around, this is what it looks like. It's so pretty. And row 2 is simply knitting all the way down row 2. Now, if you'd like to change yarn color after row 2 and after row 4 is what I think the best time to change your yarn color. Of course, get super creative and do whatever you'd like as far as colors, but I think that it looks best if you change it up after row 2 and after row 4. And that's what I'm doing here with row 3. I'm going to change my yarn after row 2, and row 3 with my white yarn, I am going to be purling 3 purl stitches. I have a lot of different yarn colors going on right now. And after you do your 3 purl stitches, then you go straight into your spring stitch. And the right hand yarn is going to go clockwise, so behind and in front, around and around for 10 entire revolutions. And once our yarn has gone around 10 times, we are going to take it around that back needle and we're going to knit it. And we are going to then remove everything off onto the right needle. And you know the drill. What are we going to do? We are going to just loosely unravel our yarn all the way down our yarn tail here on the right, and sort of straighten everything out, make sure that there's no weird kinks or knots. And once we have it looking spirally, then it's time to go ahead and just pull on the yarn tail. And the next stitch is going to be one knit stitch. And we finish up this row with purling 2 more stitches and just continue along with the pattern. This is what it's looking after row 3 of the pattern, and then we're just finishing up here on row 4, knitting all the way down the row. And just follow these 4 stitches until your piece is the length you desire. I hope you are inspired to knit up this spring knit stitch pattern. It's definitely a fun one. Make sure to check out my other knit stitch patterns. Last week's bubble stitch was a big hit, a really fun one as well. I have lots of patterns linked down in the description below. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!